your lovely cutting and scoring instructions in front of you. Okay, I'm just going to pop mine to the side here. And if you've pre-prepped yours already, you probably cut all your pieces out. I know some of you like to do your scoring as we go along. So let's make a start. Now the first part of our mystery box is we're going to be using part A. And I've just got my big scoreboard for this. So we're just going to tuck that on there. Now this is 11 by 6 inches. And on the 11-inch side, so 11-inch at the top, we are going to score down. Now I'm using craft card for this project. You don't have to use craft card, black, white, what have you, but it needs to be fairly good GSM level on that. So I think mine's about 220, 240 at the minute. So what we're going to do is we're going to score 1 inch. Come down there, 1 inch. Then we're going to score 5 inches. And then 6 inches. And then 10 inches. Okay, that's on the 11-inch side. And then we're going to turn it around on the 6-inch side. And we're going to score at 1 inch again. Okay, and 5 inches. Okay, so that's our first bit of scoring done on part A. Now we'll go through all the bits and do the scoring first, and then we'll come back and start doing the assembly. Now part B, okay, which is 3 7/8 by 7 3/4. So on the 7 3/4 side, we are literally just going to score at 3 7/8. So in effect, we are scoring halfway. And if we just fold that, you'll see what I mean. We're just scoring halfway on that one. So just going to pop that to one side. And then for C, which is 4 3/4 by 2 1/4, we're scoring 1/2 inch. Now, on my instructions, I put 2 short and 1 long side. So what I mean by that is 1/2 inch on the 2 short sides, like so, and then 1 inch on the long side. And we're just going to come down and do that, okay? And we're just going to tuck those bits away. And then our next part is part D. So that's 11 1/4 by 3 7/8. So on the 11 1/4 inch side, we're going to score at 3 7/8. Okay, and then we're going to score at 4 1/8. And then we come along and do 8 1/8. And then 8 3/8. Okay, so that's our part D. And then we've got part E. Now, I did make a little boo-boo on this one when we were coming to score this. Some of you probably realised that I didn't have a 7 3/8 because it's come off. It would have come off. So this is actually, we are scoring on the 4 7/inch side. We're scoring 1/2 inch, and then we're scoring at 4 3/8. So in effect, it's given us a 1/2 inch on each side that we're scoring. Okay, and just pop that to one side. And then our final part here is F. And again, I'm scoring on the 2 short sides by 1/2 inch. Okay, 1/2 inch, and then on 1 long side, like so. And that is all our scoring done. So I'm just going to tuck all these bits and just peg this. Where did I put my little clip? There we are. I'm just going to pop that on there and tuck that to one side. And now I can get rid of my scoreboard because we don't need that anymore. Let's just tuck that out of the way. Okay, so coming back to our part A, all right, now this is going to make a box, All right, that's what we're going to be making, a box, because after all, it is the Merry Mystery box. All right, and what we're going to do is that you've got these corners here in each of the, where we've scored, and then we've got like these little squares midway through. So what we're going to do is that we're going to take a pair of scissors, and you're just going to cut down one of those score lines down to where it crosses over with the other score line. So if I just show you what I mean, I'm just going to take that down. All right, so you can see now that creates like a little flap. Okay, then I'm going to come to this part here, which has got the little square, and we're going to cut on both sides of our score line. Okay, and then we're going to come down to the bottom here, and we're going to cut again. We're cutting on the left hand side of that little, what is now going to be a little flap. Then we're going to turn that round, and we're going to cut again up to that score line. We're going to cut both of these pieces up to the score line, like so. And then we're going to come down, and then we're going to cut, that's going that way, so that one needs to go. Just trying to work out which way that one comes in, that way. Yeah, so we're going to cut down like so. So basically we're going to be making a box. Now once we've cut those, what we're going to do is we're just going to come in slightly and just cut them at a little angle, just to make proper flaps is what we're doing. And we're just taking it up to the score line, like so. So now that creates a little flap, okay? Then I'm going to come round to this next bit, and I'm going to do exactly the same. So I'm just doing this on all the little squares at the moment. That's it. Okay. And then on this one, the double one, where we've cut on both sides, we're going to cut down both sides, like so. That's it. And you can see how the shape of the basic box is coming together. Let's cut that down a bit further. I haven't quite cut that down far enough. There we go. And then this one, again, we're just going to cut like so. Okay, let's just take that bit, that's gone right down. And then we're going to come around and do the other side. So this is all the cutting we're going to need to be doing at this moment in time. Okay, and we're just going to cut this last little bit. There we go. All right, I think we are there. Let's have a little look. Let's make sure I've done everything. I'm just going to cut that and fold that up into our box shape. Right, okay, I'm now going to just get rid of all these bits of rubbish. Okay, I'll just shout out to Teresa, welcome. Right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to fold onto the bubble. Now, because I'm using craft card, depending on your type of craft card, sometimes you have a darker side and a paler side. So I want the darker side on the outside, okay? So I'm going to be folding onto my bubble. I'll just get my little bone folder. I'm going to go round. I'm going to do all the big bits first, and then I'll go round and do the flaps. There we go. Now this would make an ideal little gift for somebody if you've forgotten to get them a prezi. Okay, right, I'm just going to fold on the flaps. That's it. Give those a quick bend. All right, and that is that. Right, but we're not going to put that together yet. We're going to put that to one side. Right, so let's just fold on there as well. Okay, now All right, so I'm just going to pop that to one side for a minute. Right, let's get our B and C pieces. So we've already scored these. So this is our B part, which is we've just literally folded in half, and the C. Now, if those of you have seen me do this before, we're going to make this into a pocket. So I'm going to get some red liner tape, and where we've scored all the way around those three sides is where we're going to run our red liner tape. I use red liner tape. It just holds it in place better, I find. But, you know, if you've got glue or anything like that or other tape, then that's fine as well. So we're just going to pop that on, and I'm just going to go round. Now, I'm not going to be assembling anything until we've got all our elements together, ready and prepped. Okay, and we're just coming to do that. So if you're crafting along with me, do give me a little heads up. Obviously, if you've got any questions, then please feel free to ask as we go along. Okay, so I'm just going to give them a little burnish. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut across at a diagonal through where the two score lines have come across. And as I come up here, it's almost a 45-degree angle. When I get to that cross point, I'm just going to move my scissors a little bit and do a little bit of a wonky cut. So, and the reason for that is that we want the pocket to lie flat. Okay, and I'm just going to come down and do the same. Give that little wonk. And like so. And then if I fold these back, you can see how we've created a pocket. And the reason for cutting it a little wonky bit is so I don't get a lot of bulk in the corners. So let's just tuck that down, that's fine. And we'll give that a little burnish as well. Okay. Right, so I'm just going to attach that back to my B. So we're just keeping all the elements together. All right, now we're coming to part D, E and F. Now F, we'll just look at F for the minute. F is another pocket, okay? So we might as well do exactly the same that we did beforehand on our part C. So I'm just going to run my red liner tape around. Like so. And I'm just going to tuck this on here. There we go. Okay, give that a little burnish like that. And again, I'm just going to cut these bits ready. So I'm cutting again up to the crossover lines, the score lines, and then give it a little wonky bit. And I'm going to come up and do exactly the same on the other side. There we go. Oh, and now I can fold these over. Hi Jackie, welcome. So I'm just going to pop that down like so, and we're just going to do the other side. Right, okay, so that is our F part. Our E part, I'm just going to put a bit of red liner tape in those scored areas. So I've just got a little bit on the top. Okay, I wonder if anybody's guessed what we're making yet. I think those of you who have followed me for a little while, you'll probably guess what some of these elements are already. Okay, and then I'm just going to fold back on those as well. So I've got the red liner tape effectively on the inside. Just get those little burnish. And then part D, I'm just going to take that off. I'm literally just going to fold on the score lines, okay, and give those a bit of a crease. Okay, now because you've got two score lines quite close together, that in effect is going to give you a little bit of a gusset. Okay, and yeah, I had some ladies with me the other day doing making one of these, and all we seemed to talk about was gussets and flaps and that. Something you just can't get away from when you're making making these sorts of craft. Okay, so there we are. So we've got 1, 2, 3 bits there, all prepped, ready to go. Okay. Right, so let's just clip those together and put those to one side. How's everybody doing? So that's fairly straightforward, just cutting out your bits, prepping them and getting that sorted. Now, I've already gone ahead and cut out my patterned paper. Okay, and I've got some lovely, I love this paper range. It was something that was in my stash, and it's got that nice sort of distressed look to it. And basically, when you come to cut these, you've got 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. It says ×3, and these are the 3. So you want one for the outside. I haven't quite decided which one I'm going to go with the outside yet. One for the inside and one for the bottom of our box. Okay, and then you've got 3 3/4 by 3/4. 4 of those, and these are what are going to go on the side of our box. And I've already gone round and I've faux stitched, and I've used brushed corduroy just to give it a bit more of a distressed look to that, rather than using the black which I normally use, because it's craft card. I wanted the colour to go in and that was going to match with that. Now, those eagle eyes of you will notice I've only come around and done 3 sides of that, and there's a reason for that, and we'll come and have a look at that in a moment. So I've got my papers ready, okay, and we're going to need to get a little notch. Well, I've got a notch punch. If you haven't got a notch punch, then you could do this using a 3/4 inch circle punch. Okay, but what I'm going to show you is you don't necessarily have to do this, but it just makes it easier for people to open the box. Okay, so just to show you what we've got there. So we're going to come to our box, and what we're going to do is our box, basically we're going to put glue on each of the tabs, and it's going to create very much like a pizza box. Okay, so this is going to be our top, so I'm just going to put a T on that, because this is going to be the top of my box and this is going to be the base of my box. Okay, because when we come to glue it together, I need to make sure that these side tabs here glue down to the base part of our box. Okay, so that's where it's going to go, and then we're going to do the rest of it. But this is our top bit. Now the top bit is where I'm going to need to put my little notch in. Okay, so I'm going to put my bit of card that I've partly gone round and done, and I'm going to glue this on first, because then I can put the notch in, or the circle punch in, when it's all glued down ready. It just makes it easier, because trust me, I've tried it. Trying to line it up after you've done it is not it's not as easy as I like to think. So I'm going to glue this bit down first. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this on. Now luckily this is not directional paper, so that's all good. Let's just pop that on there. So this is the top bit of my box, because that's the bit that's going to come over the edge, and this is what I'm going to glue down on there already, minus the cat fur. Okay, so let's just, now normally my measurements of my papers, I normally allow about 1/8 of an inch around the panel or whatever it is that it's going to be sitting on. If you want it to be further out, then obviously you can add in a little bit more paper, but that's just my guide. Okay, so now I've got that on ready. Okay, so that's my panel. It's going to be at the front. Okay, I'm now going to get my notch punch and I'm going to pop my notch in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it right down to that edge, and I'm just by eye more than anything just going to look at the distance either side. Now luckily on here I've got little dots, so that gives me a rough guide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's almost there. So I'm just going to come in and see how we go. I think I need to come over just a fraction more. I think I'm sort of there. Right, and now I'm going to punch through. Oh goodness me, it's a bit hard because I've got the other paper on it. Come on, way. For a minute I thought it wasn't going to. Right, okay, so one notch. Okay, and now I've already inked round there. This little bit I just need to go in and ink a little bit in here, like so. And then I just need to do my faux stitching. Oh, let's take my cardi off. Getting a bit warm in here. I'm not used to warmth in here. It's only because I'm out in the craft room. Okay, and I'm just going to finish off doing my little faux stitching. You don't have to do faux stitching if you don't want to. Okay, but I've done this on everything else, so I'm just going to crack on with that. And then I'm just going to do a little bit going round the edge. Okay, so you can take your time doing your one if you're doing your faux stitching, but we need to sort of do it now really before we glue our box together. Okay, so there's my faux stitching. All right, so when the box comes together, that is going to sort of sit down at the front like so. Okay, so let's get some glue on here. Now I'm using the book binding glue. You can put red liner tape on here if you wish, but a book binding glue is quite good stuff, so that's what I like to use. So I'm just going to hold one bit in place and just make sure that that takes. So I'm doing these two end bits first. Just put a little bit of glue on there. Tuck this one round. Okay. Just going to hold that in situ for a minute. And then I'm going to come and do this top bit. And then we'll worry about the middle bit in a minute. Okay. I'm just going to tuck that one in. And get those nice and square on the corners. Like so. And then we're just going to tuck that one down and do exactly the same on the other side. So now it's beginning to look like a box. Okay, and then these two panels, because this is now our top, as we know, because it's got the notch in it. So these two side flaps that have come in there, I'm going to add a bit of glue, and then I'm going to stick them down here to the base bit. And there we go. All right. I'm just going to tuck that in on that side. And while that is holding for a minute, while I go around and do the other side, I'm just going to use one of my little clips just to grab that while I can come around and do the other side. There we go. And then I'm going to, I said, tuck those on there. Okay, and that is our little pizza box. I think it's rather cute. Okay, so we're sort of getting there. Now, in my pattern papers, I've cut out a piece to go in the bottom, okay, and a piece to go on the inside of the box as well as on the outside. So while those two clips are just drying there, I'm just going to put the base bit in. And we're just going to put a little bit of glue and tuck that in. And again, I've allowed for that sort of 1/8 of an inch to go round, so just try and centre it as much as I can. Let's come over just a fraction. That will do, that will do. Okay, I can now take the clips off, and I'm going to put, I'm not going to have the robin, I'm going to, oh no, actually I am going to use a robin on the inside, and then I'll use the other one on the outside. So if those of you saw the little sneak peek, that's the one that I've used on the outside. So I'm just going to tuck that in. And again, I'm just allowing for that 1/8 of an inch all the way round. Okay. And now we can see if our box is going to close. Look at that. Perfect. All right. And then I'm going to add this to the top. But there will be other bits that I will be putting on the top of here, and I'll show you those in a little bit. But we're just getting the basics done. Okay. Making sure I've got the right side facing me, that I've got the little notch facing me there. Now this was out of an 8x8 bit of paper, and the whole paper had this bit on the top, it had the robin in the bottom, and then it had the odd corner, and I was able to get my 4 sides out, all out of one sheet of 8x8, which I thought was pretty pretty clever. It's just how the paper, oh, that rattle. That's the cat feeding machine. Wondering what the rattle was. Right, okay, I'm going to stick these on like so. I'm just going to do all 3 sides. There we go. Just pop that one on the back. Again, sort of just making sure that I try and keep the same level going all the way round, and that will line up with the front. And then our final bit is going to go on. Now there's one thing that I haven't done as yet, and that is to distress ink the actual box itself, because now it's folded. I want to put a little bit of distress in on the actual box itself. So we're just going to line those up. She says just pull that over just a fraction. I think I'll cut that corner a little bit short there, but that's all right. Why is it always the last one? It's always the one that you have the trouble with. Everything else goes beautifully, and it's always the last bit of paper that I have to stick on. It gives me grief. There we go. Right, you're on there now. Let's just tuck a little bit of glue underneath there. Okay. All right. How's everybody doing? So I'm just going to get my distress ink. I'm using brushed corduroy, and I'm just going to catch the corners of the box just to sort of distress it down a little bit more. So I'm sort of going along one side, coming back on the other side, because I've got two sides to my corners. And also, once the box is made, it gives you something a little bit more sturdy to get hold of as well. And I'm not overly worried if I go over the paper a little bit. It just helps blend it all in. Like so, and now I'm going to come in and do the corners. Okay, I know there are side flaps on that, but I'll come in and do those properly. And the front corner, and now I can open that up, and I'm just going to go around the edges, which I could have done, I suppose, before I put it together, done the edges, but it is what it is. Okay, I'll just come along and do those. Now it's up to you. You could, if you wanted to, I haven't done it on my box, but you could, if you wanted to, put paper on this side, on the base. You would just need to obviously cut yourself 4 more strips, if that's what you wanted to do. I'm also going to do the base as well. So it just gives it that nice sort of aged look to it. There we go. What would we have done without distress inks? I use them so much on projects and that these days that what would we have done without them? Probably used an old tea bag or something and stained it down, wouldn't we? But let's come in and do those corners. So I'm literally just checking. I need a little bit on that one. There we go. I think I've pretty much done. The only one I haven't done is this bit in here. Here we go. I'm just sort of. But yes, you could, if you wanted to, cut out more paper to line the inside and the outer side of your box if you so wish. But for what I wanted, I was quite happy with that. And that is our base box done. So how's everybody doing? Hope everybody's all okay. So we're just going to pop that to one side. So now, actually, we're going to need that out as well. So let's get our part C and our part D. Now, as we know, this is a pocket, okay, and this is obviously some sort of card. So I'm now going to reveal what I made here. This, I've made it as though it was a gift card, okay. So the idea is that obviously we will decorate it, and then this part will stick on here on the inside, and you can then tuck a gift card in there. If you wasn't given a gift card, you could omit this bit and just make it up and have it as a basic little Christmas card on the inside, or you could still add that in and you could put a little message in there, or you could put a little photo or something like that. Okay, now again, what I did on my original one, which you've not seen yet, I've put a little notch in. You don't have to, but I just thought it makes it easier for somebody to sort of get out the gift card. So let me just find my part B and C. So this is already pre-cut. And these parts, so you've got 3 5/8 by 3 5/8, 2 of those. And then there is for part C, oh excuse me, you've got 3 1/2 by 3 1/2 times 1, so very slightly smaller, and that is because that is the bit that's going to go inside the back of the pocket. So just double checking to make sure I've got the 2 correct ones. So they're the 2 bigger ones, these are the smaller bits, so we'll get these out the way first. And again, this was all cut out of one sheet of 8 by 8 card, or paper rather, so that's what I'm going to be putting on the front. So let's just glue that down. So this becomes a little either, as I said, either a little Christmas card, or as I designed it, as a little credit card. Okay, so we're just going, not credit card, gift card. Well, I suppose you could give somebody your credit card. You know, if you wanted, a store card, you know, anything like that. And again, I've allowed roughly for that 1/8 of an inch going all the way round. I am going to do a little bit more decorating on that, but we're just getting the base page papers in first. And then I've got this one which is going to tuck in on the inside, so we're just going to pop that one in. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to pop that in. Let's check where my fold is, so that needs to come over just a fraction. There we go. Sometimes it's a bit hard to see on this craft card where my score line is. Right, okay, so that's the inside partly done. And then for my part C, for my pockets, I'm going to do exactly as I did before. I'm going to stick that paper on there ready, and then I'm going to punch out the notch. So let's just get that done. Like so. Let's just line that up. Where are we? Okay, I think that looks fairly straight. I think when I folded that, I didn't quite fold that over square enough, so let's just give that a little bit of a burnish. That looks a little bit better. And I'm just going to line up now. Again, obviously if you haven't got a notch punch, then you can, you know, do a circle punch on there, or if you wanted you could just leave it as. So I'm just trying to line that up as centered as I can. Oh, I don't know where that flew off to. Okay, so I've already distress inked around everything, but I'm going to go around and distress ink the card now. So let's just get some ink, because we've done the box, so we want to carry that all the way through. So I'm going to come around and do this bit, and I do need to come in and just do a little bit of faux stitching on there as well. Okay. So, and then we're just going to come around and do, so I'm going to do the inside and the outside of the card. Now you could, if you wanted to, you could corner around this, but I've not bothered. I've just gone with the straight edges. Choice is yours. Okay, and I'm going to come round on the outside, and I've got some pencil marks there. I'll rub those out afterwards. I'm just going to bit I've done the inside. I'm just going to come and fold that back and do that centrepiece down the middle as well. There we go. All right. Let's just get my rubber. I'm just going to rub that little letter out there. Okay. So here we are. So we've got our front and our back, and then this is going to be the bit that goes on the inside of my pocket. So I'm going to stick the pocket on first. So what I do is I take the bottom part of the long side, and then I'm just going to get a little bit of glue, give us a little bit of, as I call it, wiggle room. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue down there, and I'm going to line this up and centre it into that bottom part of that of the back of the card. Now what I am trying to do is trying to line up the paper so the paper goes straight across as well. Now you will notice that you have got a little bit of room to come round. Don't worry, I know I've not forgotten that I need to do my faux stitching. I shall do that in just a minute. And then once I've done that, now if you're putting something in and out, it's always a good idea to put a little bit of tape across there, especially as we're going to be putting a gift card or something like that in there. So I'm just going to cut a strip and just going to tuck that in like so. So that will just help with anything sliding across so it doesn't necessarily hit against that. Yeah, and then we're just going to take the tape off both sides. Here we go, she says trying to do that. Okay. And now I'm just going to fold that over and tuck that down. Okay. Right, let's just remove our little bits of red tape, and there's my pen. I'm just going to do this little bit of faux stitching. So along the top. And then we're going to put the background paper in. Right, I'm just going to come around like so. There we go. 1, 2. Okay, that's a little bit wonky, but never mind. Right. And now, because this is directional paper, I need to make sure I get it up the right way. And then this is literally going to just slide in, and then I'm going to make sure that it's level with that other piece of paper on the other side. And I'm just going to add a bit of glue to that. Here we go. Okay. To tuck that in, and again I'm going to make sure that I've got it lining up with that paper coming along the top, but also that I'm lining it up with the paper on the pocket as well. It just looks nice when it's sort of all level. Here we go. Okay, and that is part C and B, okay, or B and C. But again, we are going to do a little bit of decorating on that as well. So I'm just going to pop that to one side. Don't need my little notch anymore, so I'm just going to pop that out the way. Okay, now for our next part, D, E and F. Okay. So again, we've got F. Now this is going to be a pocket, but I'm going to leave it straight. I'm not going to put a notch in that. And this is going to become like a little mini album, little fold album. All right, now on my instructions I put here that you could, if you wanted to, use a edger die. All right, and that the reason for that is that you would use the edger die on this section, the smaller part of this 3-fold. Okay, and what I would do is I would use that sort of coming down that edge to give it a little bit of detail, so that when it's folded over, you can see that detail, and it just makes it look a lot nicer. Okay, now if you haven't got a die like that, okay, I know the lovely Cats Craft people do some really lovely edger dies, then you could use a corner rounder. Now I've got one here that's got a couple of slightly different fancy bits to it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch those. I'm going to use this for tonight because I thought it would be easier just to show you how to do it with this, and then obviously you know, most people have probably got some sort of corner rounder knocking about anyway. But when it comes to the patterned paper, when we put the patterned paper on, I need to talk to you about the different sizes, okay? So just to sort of bear with me before we get to that bit, because the piece that I gave you, or the measurements I gave you, was when I was using the die cut itself coming across. If you're using an edge, like a corner rounder, then the paper is going to need to be a little bit wider, all right? But I just wanted to sort of point that out first before we go ahead with that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch these two. So I think I'm going to go with, I'll go with this like double one here. So let's just punch that and punch that. So it just gives me a little bit of detail on our little mini album. Okay, all right, so that's going to come across like that. And the other thing we're going to do is we're going to put in magnets as well. We're going to put a magnet on this side so that closes quite nicely on there. So before we've even decorated or put anything in, let's get the magnets on. Okay, so I've got 2 little magnets here. Slippery little whatsits. There we go. And right, put you apart. And I'm going to glue one just in to the centre point here. I'm just going to tag a little bit of glue. I'm just going to tag that one on. So it's I've sort of come in about 1/2 inch or so from that edge. Sort of centered that a little bit, and then I'm just going to get a bit of the tape, and I'm just going to pop that over the top just to hold that down and in place. Okay, right, so here we go. Here we are. Now I can put the other magnet on, add a little bit of glue to that. I'm going to use that as like a stamp effect on the other side. Now, can I just say, when you fold this over, because you've got the gussets here, you need to make sure that they are straight, and that side is straight as you can before you push that magnet down, okay? Because what I don't want to do is pull it over too much. So I'm just going to push that down like that. Now I can see where the glue is. Now I can peel that off, stick that down in that little glue dot, and then I'm just going to add a little bit more tape, like so. Okay, how's everybody doing? Is everybody all good? Okay, I don't know how many of you are actually crafting along with me, but as always, this video will be uploaded onto YouTube, so you can sort of go back and watch it at your leisure after that. Right, while I've got the ink out, I'm just going to go around and ink, just like I did for the little card. Just going to go around and ink the outside. Okay. I mean, you know, you could, if you wanted to, corner around the internal flap as well, but I've left mine flat or square, as it were. Right, okay. Okay, and then I'm going to come along and do these two corners here on the gusset. Okay, and I'll just do that on the other side, like so, and then I'm just going to flip it and do exactly the same on the inside. So it looks, gives it that nice oldie worldy look, which is what we like. Here we are. So, has everybody managed to get all the Christmas shopping done? I think I'm almost there. Just have a few birthdays to deal with in December, but I think I'm pretty much done. Although I've not wrapped anything yet. I think I need to get myself a glass of wine and do that, you know, spend an evening listening to some lovely music and wrapping up some prezzies. Okay, and then the last couple of little bits on this side. Like so. Right, okay, so I think we've certainly put that bit of paper through its paces, magnets on there, and then I'm going to do exactly the same on the little pocket. Just going to go around and ink around those, like so. I mean, you don't have to do this obviously, but for the cardstock that I'm using, I think it just gives it a bit of interest. Right, we're just going to come along, and we're nearly there. I'm just going to do that. Right, okay, I think we are done with the distress ink, so I'm just going to pop that out to one side. Okay, so let's open up our little flap, so nothing goes on here. Now this bit is a little bit wider than the rest of it, and this is where we are going to put our pocket, and we're going to do exactly the same as we did on the other, on the little, so I call it gift card holder. Okay, so that's going to sit on there. So let's just take the base off this bottom strip, add a little bit of glue for wiggle room. Here we go. Okay, and I'm just going to hold that in place. Come on, bring that down. You can see why we put the glue on, can't you? Because this stuff, red liner tape is brilliant, but once it's down, and then there isn't much give and take with it. Okay, and now I've done that, I can do the side bits, and again I will be putting some cardstock on the inside. Let's just get rid of that tape stuck to my fingers. Get there we go. Right, I'm going to pop that on like so. Okay, and then this bit, part E, is going to come on the inside of the flap, and this is going to create a belly band. Okay, so again, just take off the red tape. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue just so I can get it centered. I'm just going to do that on one piece. So, right, Okay, so now I've inked down there as well. I can see where my centre point is. So I'm taking that pretty much to the edge. There we go. Just make sure that's nice and straight on that bottom edge, and then I can just peel off this top bit and attempt to get rid of the red liner tape. There we go, and I can just now go down and tuck that down, and I think that is looks a little bit squiffy actually. Right, let's put that straight over just the fact. There we go. Right, okay, and that is our basic little trifold album in there. Okay, so now we're going to come to doing our decorating part of this one. So here are all my pieces. Now I've got my outside and my inside, and I realise I've gone ahead and decorated this bit, but I've got carried away. Look, I've done my faux stitch and I've not even done my corner rounders on those bits, so we'll do that in a minute. Okay, so these are our outside pieces. Okay, now when you come to look at this, please do double check your measurements, okay, because some of the measurements on here are very, very marginally different, all right, and that's because of the different sizes. So on this one, D, where it says 3 5/8 by 3 5/8, you need 2 of those. That's for this particular panel, this bit here, okay. So the 3 5/8 is going to sit on there. That's one piece, and then my other piece is there for the inside. Okay, so those 2 bits are for the first part, the first flap, I suppose, or the left-hand side, if you want to call it. Okay, so while I've got that bit there, I'm going to glue that one down first. So, or front page, whatever you want to call that. So we're just going to come around. Okay, and I'm just going to pop that on there. So that's now going over that magnet, and again I'm allowing about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Let's try and straighten that up a bit. It's a little bit wonky. There we go. Making sure I've got that nice straight edge. Okay, and then the next bit is 3 5/8 by 3 3/3, and this big bit here is what is going to go on the back. Okay, now you'll notice that my card, the paper that I've used, I've tried to sort of cut it in a way that it looks like it's flowing all the way across. If you had some 12 by 12 papers, you could cut a long strip, and then you could cut it down into the pieces, so you've got the whole pattern all going in the one direction. So you've got that sort of continuity of the papers, if you so wished. Obviously, depending on what you're using. Again, I'm sort of in the process of trying to use up some of my scraps, so this isn't quite. There isn't quite. Well, there's a little bit of continuity there, but not a huge amount. I mean, basically, I've sort of got the same drop, as it were, on the balls and things like that. But let's re-stick that down. But yes, you could have a really lovely, if it's a lovely snow scene or something coming right across the back of that would look really lovely. Okay, all right. Now this part here, as I said, I've already faux stitched, so I'm going to have to punch that off and do that bit. This will sit on here. Now this is slightly bigger. I've taken this up. Originally I put it as 2.5 inches, okay, for the width of this bit. But depending on how you cut or trim this particular piece, then obviously you would need to make sure that your piece of card or your paper will actually fit on that. So this bit I've actually cut at 2 5/8 across. So when I use my punch, and I need to make sure I've got my papers going in the right way, and that I'm punching it the right way. Where are we? So that's that bit. So I'm just going to tuck that in and tuck that one in, that they are going to sit. So as you can see, just by adding a little bit extra, you will get away with that nice sort of trim edge going all the way round. So I just need to quickly do my ink on that. I don't think I inked this piece actually. There we go. Oh, I did do the other bits. I must have missed this bit because I thought I needed to, remembered I needed to punch it, but then I went ahead with the faux stitching. Dear oh lordy. Right, okay, so I'm just going to do the little faux stitching round these corners. Okay. There we go. And now I can glue this piece on. And that is our outside of our album already done. Okay. So I'm just going to pop that on there. And again, I'm leaving about that 1/8 of an inch trim all the way around that bit of card. Okay, all right. Okay, so that's the outside done. I haven't bothered putting a bit of a strip of paper down these gussets. I mean, if you wanted to, that's absolutely fine. That's your prerogative. Okay, so the inside pieces for the decorating. Okay, so this is F, and the internal bit. So I've got 2 pieces here. One bit is slightly bigger than the other. So this bit would have been our 3 5/8 by 3 5/8 for the front flap. If you remember, I asked you to cut 2 pieces, so that would be that bit. Okay, and then this bit here is our 3 5/8 and by 3 1/2. Okay, which is the bit that's going to go on the inside of our pocket, like so. And then I've got, so that bit will tuck in underneath the belly band, and then I've got the strip for the belly band and the strip for the pocket. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and glue these down. Okay, so let's just, so this is part D, that first bit, and 3 5/8 by 3 5/8. Now some people have asked me, Deb, why do you not stick the paper down first? The reason why is that I like to sort of cover up where the flaps of the pockets or the belly band and that have gone down, so it just gives it a nicer finish. I just think it looks better. So now when you look underneath there, it's sort of hidden those bits. Okay, and the belly band is part E. of your paper. So as you're going through, if you write down the elements to what this is, I'll go over it right at the end anyway. Right, okay, so I need to make sure that I've got my diagonals going the right way. So my diagonal goes that way or that way, so I need to turn that round. No, there's still going to be different on those bits. Okay, not to worry. I thought if I'd been a bit clever I could have had them all going the same way, but as I said, I was using up scraps, so there we go. Well, it will just add a little bit more interest, won't it? There we are. Right, so that's the belly band on, and then the pocket is F, so that's a 3.5 inch by 1.25 inch piece. I'm just going to come along like so, and well, if we completely go in different ways, I'm going to do it as a, put that one on there like that, and again I'm just lining that up, and I'm trying to sort of line it up as best I can with that bottom, but I don't want to take it down too far. I should have taken that pocket down maybe a little bit more, but it doesn't matter, that's fine. Okay, and this is the other part of F, 3 5/8 by 3.5, like so. I'm just going to tuck that inside, so that goes over the, because now all of these, as well, these back panels are again directional paper, so I'm just being wary of making sure that I am putting it the right way round, lining those up with the edges of those papers on the pocket. There we go. And now I'll come to the internal part of the flap, so I need to do my corner rounders on this side, making sure I've got the right pattern. No, not that one. Where are we? This side. So, okay, it's going that way. So, making sure I've got it the right way round. Trust me, I've done that before now as well. Turned it round in my hand and realised I've punched the two top bits and not the too long, not the long side. Right, okay, and just going to faux stitch like so. 1, 2, 3 little bits around there. There we go. And then we're just going to glue this down. And that is our basic album done, and then we've got all the decoration and the other little bits and pieces which I'm going to go through and show you. Right, okay, so in this little Merry Mystery box I wanted to sort of give everybody a little bit of something, you know, a little card holder thingy that could be used not in the box. You could use that as a separate thing, put it in a little square envelope to give us a gift. The same with the little mini album. This could be used to be tucked into bigger albums if you wanted. You know, so there's a lot of versatility with these elements as well. Anyway, they're not just for this little Merry box. You can do whatever you wish on that. So let me show you. I'm going to now show you the completed Merry Mystery. Sorry, I was going to sneeze there. Merry Mystery album, little box rather. And as you can see, we've got a little tag on there. I've got a little 3D flower going on. I've got a little circle with a little message on there. So I'm going to show you how we go through and do these bits. Let's just take off take off the ribbon or the baker's twine, and then on the inside, as you open it up, we've got my little robin, and then I've just lightly decorated the card, the credit card, or I keep calling it credit card, you know what I mean, the gift card. Okay, I've decorated very lightly the little album, because you can do whatever you like in terms of decoration in there. And actually we've got some little photo mats which I'm going to show you in a moment. And oh, look at that, a lovely bar of chocolate in the bottom. Now, you wasn't expecting that, were you? This is a great size for Ritter's Sport chocolate bar, but I think you can get other makes as well, like I think Dairy Milk. You might even get a Kit Kat possibly in the bottom. So, you know, what's lovely is that when somebody undoes this and opens it up, they see all these little bits, and then they've got an extra surprise at the bottom. So I'm just going to tuck that to one side, and I'm going to bring back our little cards here. So out of your scrap, bits of scrap cardstock, I had my punches and that, so I just want to check. So I've just decorated these, oh, it's a 2-inch punch. I've just decorated these with the bits that came with the paper range that I had, okay? And so these were some like little toppers and push out elements, which is what I've used to decorate here. Now I could put, you see I've got here to a wonderful friend, the May Your Christmas Be Merry and Bright is what I've used on the card. I've used this little one, Happy Christmas, on there. The To Wonderful Friend has gone on the outside of the box. These were just elements that came with the paper range that I've been using, like my scrap box. But you know, if you haven't got elements like that for your paper, you could just punch out circles and decorate it however you wish out of yours. Now I'm just going to grab some more craft card, because I realise I need some to do the other circles with. So let me just, I think that bit's going to be wide enough. I like to use up the scraps. Let's just go with that bit. Okay. All right. Okay. So what we've got is this is sitting on a 2-inch circle. So let's punch out a 2-inch circle. This is just how I'm going to decorate it. Now, let's just punch that in there. I haven't got anything. Way. So that's my 2-inch circle for that to go on the card. And then my little wonderful friend one here, which is on the box on the outside. Let me see what measurement did I have for that one. That was a 2-inch punch as well. So I'm just going to punch that out. Now at this stage you can decorate how you wish. But I'm just going through and showing you what I did on mine. Okay, and I've got my little wonderful friend there. So I'm going to ink around these 2 circles. And then we're just doing the finishing touches, like so. Ink around those. Okay. And then I'm going to ink around these. I have faux stitched on the originals, going around the circles and that, but for now I will just ink these up, like so. There we go. So now they will stick on there, and then I have my little Happy Christmas, which I've just inked round. I've not mounted that on any card, so just sort of go go round on there. I don't think there was anything else on the inside, so I've left it quite plain. So let's just pop these together. So this one, I'm just going to put that on there. But like I said, if you haven't got any like little toppers or anything like that to go with your paper range, depending on the patterns on your paper range, you could find that there might be a nice image that you could actually punch out using a circle punch that you could use as a little topper to go on. So that I'm now going to just sort of pop that on there, and just get this done. There we go. So may your Christmas be merry and bright. Let's just pop that on there, and I've just taken that over that edge a little bit, and I haven't stuck it on straight because I like it at a little wonky bit. And then the inside, so that was my original. Let's just pop that out of the way. That's going in my box. For this one, I'm just going to stick this on the outside, like so. Okay, just going to centre that. Try not to cover up too much of my reindeer. There we go. Okay, that's that one done. And then the box. Okay, so let's just pop this on. I will faux stitch this one because obviously once I've stuck it on the box it just makes it a little bit awkward to get to. I'm just going to pop that on there. Alright, how's everybody doing? Give me a thumbs up, see how everyone's doing. So, just going to, you can obviously take your time doing this. Just going to come in like so. There we go. So this, I mean, I know I've put a box of, you know, I put a bar of chocolate in there, but actually you could use this little pizza box for other things. You could maybe put a nice jewellery set or something in there. It's quite versatile. Maybe fold up, you know, because nowadays, do we get theatre tickets and things like that? You know, often or not, it's printed off, isn't it? So you could put a nice gift like that in the bottom, you know, maybe a printout of tickets that you've got for somebody, you know. So there's lots of uses for this little pizza box. I know there are dyes out there that do pizza boxes, but I wanted mine just a little bit deeper. That's why I went, you know, created this one. Okay, so there's mine to a wonderful friend. So I'm going to stick that on there. Now, these are like the little flower that were just a push out from my paper range. But again, if you haven't got anything like that within the paper range that you are using, but you've got some flower dyes or you know, punches or something like that, then use the papers and just punch out your flower shapes. Doesn't, you know, or if you don't want to put a flower on it, then that's absolutely fine. Maybe you've got some holly, fresh holly or something like that. You know, whatever you like. At the end of the day, use your creativeness to sort of come up with what you're going to do. Right, okay. So this one's got a little bit of holly on there. I still want to sort of keep the 25 seam because it says Christmas 25. So I'm probably going to just glue that down there and tuck that one just in the corner. So let's just pop that on. And then we've just got the last few bits to do, which are the photo mats and the little tag and that, because I just want to show you what I did with that. So I'm just going to pop that on an angle. Okay, I'm just going to put a little bit of glue at the bottom. I didn't want too much because I want the petals to sort of be able to lift a little bit, and I'm keeping it within the realms of the box lid. I didn't really want them sticking out. Now my original one, I've put in a little gem, so I'll just grab the gem box. Little gem box. What have I got in here? Here we are. Some, put little red ones in. So tweezers. Where are we? So I'm just going to pop. I'm going to take one off. Just put a little red one in the centre. That will just catch the eye. So there we go. So we've got our base box. We've got, where did I put my bar of chocolates? It's still, I've got other chocolates. So I'm going to tuck that one in there just at the right. So we've got that in there. We've got the little card. Right, this bit we need to do our photo mat. So let's just pop those gems out of the way. Okay, so your photo mats are your H's in on your instructions, okay? And you've got 3 big ones and then 2 smaller ones. Now, if you were given this as a gift and you wanted to put the photos straight on it, then obviously you just stick your photos in and then just pop it into the album. But if you're going to do photo mats and you're giving this as a gift so somebody else can put their photos in, this is what I do. So let me just grab some paper. So I just use ordinary A4 paper, okay, and the photo mat sizes are 3 inch by 3 inch. So I'm just going to cut these up. So I've just put here, because I've just done it so that you just put a photo on one side. If you wanted to put photos on both sides, then you need to double up the amount of photo mats being used. So 3 inch by 3 inch. Okay. I'm just going to do one of each size. I'm not going to go through and do all the sizes, but just to show you get the idea. And then this one would be 2 inch by 2 inch. Just pop it back over there. Okay. Just trim that down like so. But you can obviously carry on with the rest. All right. And so these will go on like so, and I've got somewhere, she says, oh there it is, my ink pad and my little place photo here. But if you haven't got one of these little stamps, then you know you could just sort of handwrite it on. I'll pop that one on the middle. I always punch these up first before I stick them down, just in case I mess them up. Because I've done that as well in the past. It's like a confessional, isn't it? I'm sort of telling you all the things that I do wrong. Right, okay. Just a very scantily bit of glue on there. And just going to pop that on there like so. Okay, but as I said, if you're putting the photos directly on, you don't need to do this bit. And I'm only putting a very tiny little bit of glue on there. Sometimes I use a tape, like the little tape pens, but I haven't got any in here with me at the minute, so glue it is. But I just tack it on there, and or you could use repositionable glue, you know, so they can sort of peel it off. And then we'll open this up, and then obviously you've got your, you would have your like maybe 2 photo mats in there, or maybe 1, 2 in there, like so. There we go. And then the little ones can go inside. Obviously you can cut more or less if you wanted. And that ties in and that flips over and that tucks in there as well. So sort of just pop that in. There you go. What's that bar of chocolate getting in the way? There we go. Right. I'm going to pop that in. So we're almost done. So that closes up. So all we've got to do now is our lovely little tag. Now the tag, I gave you measurements for the tag of 2 inches by 1 1/4, and using the same corner rounder. This is if you haven't got a tag punch. I've actually got, this is stretching over, I've actually got a tag punch. So on my original box I did use a proper tag punch for it, as you can see on here. This was the original. I actually used that and I punched it out. So that's what I did for that. If you've got one, great. If you haven't, then what I did was use one of these, and I just got using the same corner rounder, I just go in and clip both. And what I would do is do exactly the same with the patterned paper and stick it on. But this bit of patterned paper I've cut here would have been for the other tag. So let me just grab some paper and here we go. Just use the end bit of here. Although that's rather nice, isn't it? It's a shame I can't cut that one out. Okay, so this is 2 inches by 1 1/4. All right, 1 1/4. So I'm just going to take the end bit off. 2 inches by 1 1/4. Yeah, because I'm coming in slightly smaller. There we go. 2 inches. So the tag itself is slightly bigger than that. I was looking at the patterned paper. Right, the tag is 2 1/4 by 1 1/2. So the patterned paper is 2 inches by 1 1/4. There we go. Right, take that off. Okay, and again I would corner round like so. Give it a little bit of ink around the edge, and then I would faux stitch round that. Just put a bit of ink on there. There we go. I'm just going to stick that down. I'm not going to worry about the faux stitching for now. I can pick that up and do that later. Okay, I'm just going to pop this on. So now I've made myself a little tag. And it's up to you. You could put patterned paper on both sides if you wanted, or you could cut out the same size and put a white bit on there so you can actually write on it. It depends on your papers and the cardstock that you're using. Okay, now I've got my tag made. I'm just going to get my little crocodile, or crocodile as I call mine. And yeah, I'm just going to punch a hole in there. Trying to centre that. If you haven't got one of these and you've got an bog standard hole punch, like a 2-point, 2-circle hole punch, then you could use that. And then our final bit is our twine. to tie this all on. So the twine, I do believe I say at 34 inches. Okay, so let's just measure this out. So there's my ruler. So that is 12, 24. That would be sort of 36 back to, I'm just going to cut that. Or you could use fine curling ribbons or anything like that, but I just prefer the baker's twine for this. So I'm just going to put that through. Okay, and I'm sort of going to position it because I want it to sort of come in and fill this corner at the bottom. So you've got an element in each corner there. Just making sure that that is even. So just twist it round at the bottom, bring it back round, bring that back up, and I'm just going to tie a little bow. And that is our little merry mystery box. Just tidy up a little bit. There we go. So hopefully you've enjoyed this and it's given you a few ideas. I mean, the pizza box itself opens itself up to lots of uses and things that you can do with that. And as I said earlier, the little gift card holder you can use, and even the little trifold little mini album as well. You can sort of, you know, put those into other big albums and stuff like that. So thank you, Deborah. Glad you like it. But yes, and that's not bad. I mean, it's taken an hour and a half, and I suppose if you had like half an hour cutting out your bits and pieces beforehand and all the rest of it, a 2-hour make I don't think is too bad. And what a lovely gift that you can give somebody. I mean, obviously when they open it up and they see the gift card or, you know, photos and other bits in there, and then you get the extra bonus of the layer of chocolate as well. Well, I'd be more than happy to receive one of these, that's for sure.